Also, yeah, I should also mention that I, as always, just have an hour for this at this time of day because I have like so much shit I have to do
Yep.
before I can sit and write in peace at
Hmm.
night and without feeling bad about myself. No,
Hmm.
what I was gonna start with. Do you know what the difference is between a punker and a progger?
Uh, I mean, I'm sure there are many differences, but I'm sure that you're just setting up for a pun. So go ahead.
I'm not setting up for a pun, actually. I don't. Do you know what a progger is, by the way? Have you ever heard that expression?
Isn't it like people who dig progressive rock, like Pink Floyd or whatever?
Sort of, you're almost at the same place. Because I asked my aunt, right? My aunt is a democratic socialist, so we have had. It's a shame that she's starting to get ill, but the thing is that used to have the best fucking debates when I was a teenager, me and my aunt. Like these long fucking debates. Because I mean, I'm not a socialist at all, as you know. Like I'm what is it, a social democrat, but a right wing social democrat. Like in Sweden, like I'll probably be seen as like almost far right. Or not, no, no, no. Yeah, yeah, no. Actually, now when I think about it, yes. Not anymore, but I used to be more far right, like in the Swedish context. But now
You're
it's like
like
center right in Sweden.
right wing for a Destiny viewer, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, yeah, sort of, I guess. No, actually, no. When I think about it, he's more right wing than me. I think actually, in very many situations, I'm like more left wing than him when I hear him speak. I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, this is so. It's interesting, like, and he gets called a leftist cuck all the fucking time. So I mean, it's interesting how it works. But anyway, I was talking because my aunt was like, she was in the punk scene or like was around that time, in the 70s and late 80s or late 70s, early 80s. So I
Hmm.
asked her, what is the difference between a progger and a punker? Because those were the two like music scenes that existed in the early 70s or like the big ones. And she said that essentially the proggers were socialists and the punkers are anarchists. So what happened is that the proggers thought the anarchists was wild animals, like wild beasts that they didn't want anything. They were just retards essentially. Whereas the punkers thought the proggers were fucking pussies.
I see.
So I present to you that in that scenario, aren't the punkers the more based ones?
Um, Here's the thing, though. I'm pretty sure that the socialists actually quite like the anarchists because the anarchists are easy targets and they destabilize the government, which makes revolutions easier. And of course, anarchism is impossible, so the socialists get to always win as long as the anarchists are doing their job. So I feel like it's probably like a symbiotic relationship, if anything. Like uh, they might hate each other when they're teenagers, but as they grow up, they probably dig each other's companies, I think.
Sort of. I mean, the thing is, like, by the way, that was going to be the next point, but you said it already. That like as teenagers, they're like, "Oh, you suck. Oh, you suck." But as they get older, like the thing is, like, I can never in my life see a situation where, except these pretenders, right, that where an anarchist would be okay with a socialist, because a socialist is like, you know, they have their structures too, right? That are really,
Yes.
really fucking bad. So that's why it's so strange to me that all the people who call themselves punkers now, they're not punkers, they're proggers at best, and
Mm-hmm.
barely that probably.
I feel like
Because here's the
they're a
thing, even
completely different breed, really. Like, because they don't have any of the like they aren't for liberty, they aren't for freedom, they aren't against the government. Like, what's left?
yeah, that's why like the punkers in name only, I guess, while not
Yes.
understanding what it means. So because that's the thing what you said, right? I mean, punkers are supposed to be against the fucking government. Then again, don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm gonna simp for punkers and say everything they say is correct. Like, no, it's not. Because it's quite strange, that they something I also noticed, like that. Oh, we hate capitalism, bro, but we're gonna exist so well under it, and reap all the benefits of it too. But
It's
we
not
still
just
hate it.
exists so well, it's
Okay.
like they couldn't exist without it, you know? They're completely dependent on it.
Yeah, but with that said, if someone asks me like, yeah, would you have them back versus what we have now? Yes. Like, it's not even a question. I would have the fucking punkers back in a heartbeat, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever the fuck, these fucking retards are, you know.
I see.
So that is the it's just
What
interesting because I don't
I,
know.
I I'm kind of wondering because you had a topic in mind that you sent me a video of for this
Yes.
conversation, and I was kind of wondering how are you going to tie it up? Like, what's the connection between bunkers and you know the current war in the Middle East?
Well, think about it. Punker starts with a P. Palestine also starts with a P. My
I
intellect
hadn't
is
thought of that.
unrivaled. Dude, my intellect is unrivaled. I'm the fucking emperor from
Of
Baldur's Gate 3, man. Like, that's my big brain. That's like the
yes.
big brain we're talking about. I'm not even the emperor. I'm the
Well, now
fucking
that you're
elder
in
brain,
Japan,
man.
you
I'm
can
the
probably
least
eat
brain.
brains of very different animals if you want. So
True.
maybe you can grow
I
smarter.
actually, finally, man, I can finally become fucking Aaron Jaeger from season 5 of Attack on Titan, season 4 of Attack on Titan. Fucking
What's the
big brain, high
reference?
IQ.
Oh, I see. I thought that you meant like he's eating someone, which is, I mean, he did eat his
True, true.
father, I guess.
Yes. Oh man, like, well, like the whole no, not. I'm not gonna go. Sorry, I'm not gonna go into that tangent. It's just
Yes, it's better
so
that you
let's
don't.
focus on what. Yeah,
Here's
I
here's
almost
how
did.
I thought that you would tie
Okay.
up the two subjects, right? Because punkers are all about rebelling, right? And who
Yes.
else has a lot of rebels, you know? Like people who don't
Mm.
like authority and are willing to go to very great lengths to oppose oppressive regiments. Um, of course, the first
Mm.
liberators that come to mind are Hamas, right?
Oh man, like here's a piece. Not even like a CD joke you're going for, unless you're not joking and you're a fucking retard. But I don't think you're a retard, so I'm pretty sure you're joking. Is that it's like even as a joke, it's kind of funny. Like it's seeing the fucking absolute brain rot on this topic, right? And that's also why I sent you the David Pakman video because it's literally like his sort of feeling around the whole conflict that he gives is sort of how I feel about it too. Like that's just like he's like, yeah, spot on. That's how I feel. Except when it tries to equivalate the right wingers with the left wingers, that felt weird to me. I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand why he did that at all. Like, oh,
Yes,
I
made no
understand because
sense
he,
at
he
all to
wants to
me.
kind of
Like, oh,
yeah, but
you're like, I understand that it's like a cheap, like, political move to say, well, it's happening under a certain presidency, so it's the fault of this president. I understand that, but that has nothing to do with like, because I keep seeing like on Reddit, for example, a lot of support for uh, Palestine, right? And
hmm,
like some of it is just support for Palestine, some of it is like anti-Israel uh, commentary, and some of it is actually pro-Hamas and whatever, right? But
hmm,
one thing I've seen is that, like on, for example, our conservative, like it's 100% pro-Israel, like completely and utterly, contrary to like left-wing
hmm,
subs, which is, I mean, sometimes it's split, sometimes it's only pro Hamas essentially, and or
hmm.
pro-Palestine for being a little bit more charitable. So yeah, I mean, it's very difficult for me to understand why. I mean, I haven't like I don't know the content of this person until you sent me this video. So I don't know if this is like usual for him or if it's like something out of the left field. But it's a completely unfair comparison to try to like say that oh, these MAGA Republicans are being disgusting by, you know, saying Biden has anything to do with this. It's like this is like very mundane politics. It's something that happens all the time, and it's completely incomparable to like the left actually chanting for guessing the Jews and other
Yeah.
colorful slogans.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I agree with you, by the way. Like, the thing also I should mention is David Pakman is like, I would say, like, of all the pundits, American pundits that exist, I guess he would be the one I'm mostly close to in terms of what policies and sort of things like that. The only problem he has, and he always gets this, like, he has been on Lex Friedman's podcast, on Joe Rogan's podcast, so it's like, he has made the rounds, right?
Mhm.
And they always bring up, they say, I don't remember if Joe Rogan did it, but I know Lex Friedman did it, and also Destiny, by the way, brought this criticism to him that your titles, your YouTube titles, are very inflammatory. Why? And that because they are like so divisive to a point where it's like I don't want to watch you anymore. That's how I felt until like
Mhm.
I feel like he had a renaissance. David Pakman had a renaissance more where he was a little more laid back. Because like 2 years ago, it was insane. Like I
I
stopped
mean,
watching him because it was too insane with
I mean
titles. But
this
anyway, to
video.
address your point. Hmm?
Yes, if I were to judge him by this video alone, and I have to because I haven't watched any others.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get that.
Uh,
Yeah, I get that.
like he seemed to be very like trying to manipulate the audience by using certain words which would trigger emotions rather than like factual analysis. Like he used like the term medieval massacre like 6 times in the video, and
What did you say? I didn't hear what you said. Deagle massacre.
medieval.
Oh, medieval massacre. Okay, good.
Yes, he used the term like 6 times throughout the video, and like there is this popular perception that the medieval times is like this terrible time, and there's like medieval torture and whatever, and it's all bullshit actually. Like it's complete fucking fabrication. Like the medieval times were not, by any comparison, worse from like a numerical standpoint compared to like the 20th century. Like the 20th century was way worse, and so like trying to
I
use this
don't. Didn't he
phrase.
use barbarism? Didn't he
What?
use barbarism? I thought he used the
Yes,
word barbarism.
he might have used that as well,
He
but he used
said,
medieval massacre like 6 times, like several
okay,
times
so he
throughout the
said
video.
medieval massacre. Okay,
Yes,
continue.
and like the usage of that word is just to trigger an emotional response because it's neither like accurate in the terms of like, well, are you actually describing something when you say medieval massacre? Like what? Like Gagger, name one medieval massacre. Go.
Okay, I am, but I also wanted to address two things or like give context
I
to
mean, that was a
understand
rhetorical
one
question,
part
though.
about it.
I was just uh, prompting you to say, yes, there isn't like a popular medieval massacre because there isn't. Like the
It
medieval
depends on
time.
what you define as a. Depends on what you mean for massacre. For example, would you say when you say massacre, do you mean like that there are some civilians just chilling in a village and then like the king comes down with his men and kills everyone in the village? Would this be a massacre? I guess both of you would agree. Yes, this would be a massacre.
Do you
Now,
know of
when you
one?
say yes, but that's what I'm asking. What do you mean with massacre?
Yes, I mean
Is
that
this
would
sort of
count.
what you mean?
Yes, if a king killed his
Okay.
own people, that would count as a massacre.
Yes, there was one in Sweden called what is it called? Oh my fucking god! Oh, this is so bad. I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The bloodbath of Stockholm. Then you had Black Friday in Scotland. Then you had, but also now it feels okay. Before because I know how you are, you fucking bitch. I know how you are. Define when you say medieval. Exact. Give me the exact time period, or as close as exact as you can when you say medieval time period.
I actually have no clue how most people define it, but I'm pretty sure it's like you know
It's so
from
good to be used to
the
that.
year 1,000 to 1,500, some dumb number like that.
Okay, dude. Uh, what happened during the thousands? What was like the big thing during the thousands?
Are you kidding me, dude? Uh, exactly how are you going to
Vikings,
ask me what is the big thing during the thousands?
the Vikings were around 30,000,
Yes, that's a
and after that,
war, dude.
Sweden
It's not
has
a
gone again.
massacre. A massacre is
Dude, wait, we plundered villages, man.
yes.
Like, I killed a lot of people. That's a massacre.
Those are wars, though.
Okay, so let's be clear. Yes, again, so what we read. So it feels like, because also, what, yes, so we understand. But you say massacre, because now I see, it seems like we're using the word massacre completely different. So
Yes,
again, a massacre for you, it would have to be like someone doing something bad against their own people. Something bad here
or
being killing, obviously.
killing people who have no means of defense at all.
Yes, but okay. So just again, so let's say that I don't know, Sweden right now. Okay, so Sweden right now, they go to this island called Åland. Åland is like its own, it's sort of its own state, but you get the idea. So
Mhm.
Swedish army man goes to Åland and then murder everyone on Åland, which is another country, right? This would be a massacre for you, right?
I mean,
Just to understand what you mean.
it's really hard because you just said everyone, and some people would be able to like muster a defense. So those people wouldn't count as part of the massacre because they would be able to defend themselves. But yes, the people who couldn't defend themselves would have been massacred.
Okay, but to me, that's not
I'm
how
not
most
saying
people
that
use
what
it.
happened in the Israel war was not a massacre, by the way. What I'm saying is that when you're using the term medieval massacre, you have to come up with an example of people being massacred in medieval
Okay,
times.
so let's say, for example, right, that David Pakman said this was a medieval massacre akin to the Stockholm bloodbath that took place in, damn, 1300s, I think, 1200,
So
at
I
least the
actually
medieval
have
period.
no clue what the Stockholm massacre was like. So let me Google it real quick.
I mean, no, wait, it's called bloodbath, Stockholm bloodbath,
Yes,
and then
I
and this was the Danish king, like the Danes invaded our country, took it over, and then brought out all the nobles to the city, like the old town square, and murdered all of them, all the nobles except one man called Gustav Vasa. And Gustav Vasa is like seen as the father of modern Sweden because he escaped the massacre and then rallied all the forces and kicked out the Danes. But
okay.
I would say
So
that
100
that
people were executed after the Swedish took control of the place, and they weren't supposed to be massacred because there was supposed to be an amnesty, but they still fucking killed
yes,
a lot of people over it. Um,
yes, the Danes did it because you said it wrong. You said the Swedes did it. It was the Danes who did it, or specifically the Danish king gave the order. But I mean, it's Danes, They probably didn't understand what he said anyway. Anyway, my point there being that if David Pakman had said something like this, it's a medieval massacre akin to the Stockholm bloodbath. Would you have been fine with it?
I mean, I guess I'm not sure. Like, it's hard to say because the comparison isn't exactly like it's pretty
One
far
to one? No, no,
apart,
no. It's
right?
not. Absolutely not.
So it's hard to accept it. But I mean, sure, like it's bloody. That's a similarity, but it's also like in this case, it's a fucking aristocracy being killed, and they are essentially uh, captured. Uh, like they're political actors being captured and killed. They're not, civilians who have nothing to do with any war or any decisions being made or are any threat to the government. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not sure if the
okay, but
comparison is fair, but it is a massacre. Yes.
yeah, so, but to get to the root of the question here, and just because I know there's going to be some retards who think that what you said was like, huh, that no, but you already explained it, but the people who said, wait, he has a problem with David Pakman using the word massacre. That means Neo doesn't care about all the people who died, which is
I
obviously
have a
not the
problem
case,
with
but I
him
know
using
there's
the
going to be some
word
retards.
medieval, actually. Let me get this straight. The problem is him invoking an image that is popular in culture right now, which is that the medieval period was more violent than the current times. Like compare this fucking Stockholm bloodbath to the fucking French Revolution and see which killed more people. It's not comparable.
But,
Like as time passes,
but
people get even uh, more, like as power becomes more centralized, the power of tyrants increases and the ability of the government to kill its citizens increases. And that's why we see an increase in fucking genocide as time passes. And my point is, you shouldn't be trying to use this fucking stereotypical fictional view of medieval times to try to peddle your fucking bullshit. Like, it's false. And that tells me that you're not willing to go for the facts. What you're trying to do is to manipulate the emotions of the audience. That was my point when I said that he shouldn't have used the word medieval.
okay, so two things here. Again, or one thing in particular, so you know the context. David Pakman is Jewish and he has a lot of relatives in Israel. Just so we know that's why he was very emotional during, because he's usually not that fucking angry. So it's understandable, right? His people were massacred. So it's understandable he gets really upset. Two, here's the thing. I'm not saying like that. I mean, if you compare the medieval period to now our Western world, like the Western world in particular, just the Western world is, I just disagree. It's better here than it was during medieval Western world.
Yes, I'm not arguing that. I'm
Yeah.
saying that power is more concentrated amongst the government. Like, do you think that fucking Genghis Khan would be able to listen to the conversations of people 100 meters or 100,000 meters away? Like, that's not a possibility. That only comes with technology and with centralization. So, what I'm comparing here is not the relative peace of the time, because we are living in a peaceful time compared to the times of the past. I'm arguing that uh, government-directed massacres are a thing that have been occurring more and more in recent times, and this is a direct correlation to the increase of the power of the government. Um, so I'm not saying that, oh, people had it better during medieval times. I don't think so. Like, I would be pretty fucking screwed if I was like teleported to those times. I wouldn't be able to live essentially. So I very much understand
Yeah,
how
no,
dependent
I
I
see.
am on technology and such things.
Yeah, so, but that's the thing. I didn't take that from what he said. Like, I see sort of what I mean, but here's the thing: a massacre for me doesn't necessarily have to be a government. I mean, the government, it can just be other people performing the massacre and they have no allegiance to any government. Then
Yes,
I would still say this
yes,
is a massacre.
yes, I
And this
agree.
also, I mean, this also happened during the medieval times. So, and government sanctioned massacres also took place during this time. So I guess I disagree, but I mean, now we have a choice. Either we go to the meat of the issue, Palestine and Israel,
I feel like we have a
or
lot
we
more to
continue on
talk
this.
about, and if you get like stuck in this, we are going to like go in circles. So I'd rather just move on if you
I mean,
don't mind, because there's a lot
yeah,
of
cool.
like I
But
have
yeah,
some notes on what he said and stuff that because I didn't bother noting stuff I agree with, right? I only noted stuff that I think I might have some disagreements with.
but
And
just before we move on,
okay,
yes, you have this opinion. I disagree with you. That's cool. We don't hate each other.
yes,
I hate what you are though. I do hate what you are though, a
I do
Brazilian, but
hate
that's
yourself,
another, you
so
know.
yes, but that's a coincidence. That has nothing to do with the point.
Fucking, anyway, yeah, go on with your needs. Go on.
Yeah. So he said, for example, this is like cheering for Al Qaeda after September 11, and I feel like the comparison is completely unfair. Like Al Qaeda doesn't have territorial claims on the U.S. Like they're not like how can you compare? Like the Palestinians have a claim on Israel land because Israel built their land on places which were owned by Palestinians before. And so there is actually a genuine claim to the territory. And you can't compare that with Al Qaeda destroying the World Trade Center because the World Trade Center isn't on the fucking Middle East. And so I feel like it's such a reach that also is doing the same thing, right? It's like, oh, what is the worst thing that I can compare someone to? It's the Nazis. So, what is the like most important, most treasured, and most sacred stuff that Americans have? It's like, don't say bad things about September 11th, and he's playing on that to get the crowd on his side. It's the same thing, I think, and it's an unfair comparison, and I don't like I don't think it's justifiable. Let's put it that way.
I would say it depends. I mean, if he is comparing, because I mean that's the thing. Because in the video, and also he made this clear. At least what I got when he was talking about the crowd sharing, they weren't sharing for Palestinians; they were sharing for Hamas. And Hamas, I mean, sure, they probably want Palestine to be free, but one of the major thing above that is to kill all Jews. Whereas Al Qaeda's mission, as you said, I mean, they did have some territorial claims, sure, but it weren't in the it wasn't in America. They had the territorial claims. It was obviously in Afghanistan, right?
Yes.
So the thing here is that Al Qaeda also in the short had kill all Americans or death to America, you know. So that's
Yeah.
why I see the comparison as fair.
I mean, the problem is that uh, how they put it is in a way that makes sense. So I guess I'll have to brush up in history with you here. So, what was Al Qaeda fighting for exactly?
So Al Qaeda, far, it's far back, but sort of the cliff notes I remember, and it's probably some of it's wrong. But essentially, there was a Soviet-backed coup back in Afghanistan. This is important. So it's a Soviet-backed coup in Afghanistan. Then the Mujahideen, that later became Al Qaeda, was against this Soviet-backed republic. So America funded those guys. And then when Al Qaeda won in Afghanistan, later they attacked Americans at Death to America. So they wanted to kind of just attack America. It's a kind of faith-based war, I guess. I don't know if it was.
Yes,
It
because
might have been something to do with.
that was
Continue.
also my impression. I believe that it was because the World Trade Center was a symbol of the prosperity of the West, which did not need Islam.
Yes.
So it was like an affront on the Prophet, because those people were uh, like thriving whilst people in the Middle East were suffering. And since the people in the Middle East were the people who followed the law, and the people in the West were unbelievers, that was like a proof of, you know, the unbelievers having it better, despite the world being ruled by Allah. So the attack was a certain reminder, I guess. I shouldn't have used that word because it remembers, like, whatever. It was like fixing this obvious glaring issue with the fact that uh, America should not be prospering when their people are immoral and they're not under Sharia and they don't follow Allah. Uh, so it was a theological problem as far as I'm concerned. And I mean, you can say that it's a similar thing with Hamas, but you can't say that it's a similar thing with the Palestine issue, right? Hopefully you agree with me on that.
I mean, I don't. Can you repeat the last sentence you said? Because
Yes.
I just need to hear it again.
You can say that the problem with Hamas, like what Hamas wants, is a theological issue, but what the Palestinians want is not a theological issue, or it isn't. At least it isn't. Like the Palestinians do not want to massacre all the Jews. I don't think so.
Here's the thing. I need to look into it more because I am very worried that if I, and I might be completely wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, is if we look at the statistics and what people have been saying there, we might get a different picture. But for now, let's go with what you said, that
Look,
most Palestinians do not want to massacre the Jews. So
yes.
for
So
this, let's move on with that point. What I'm getting here, and it's important, is that what David Pakman said, I don't know if he didn't say in the video, then sure, he should have said that, because he did say it on Twitter, was that his hypothesis that I agree with is that the people who are sharing on Palestine now, right after the terror attacks, they're also sharing on Hamas and being Hamas supporters. So they are indistinguishable at this point in time. So if he goes in with that mindset, which I also share, then I agree with his comparison with Afghanistan. However, let's say that it wasn't like that. Like, I mean, if it's hard to say if it wasn't like that, because it literally is how I feel it is. But sure, I mean, it's not the same like Palestinians. Like the average Palestinian, just want to fucking live alone in Gaza and have just live there and be
yes.
in his own country.
So
This is
for
not the
me to
same
help your
as
point a little,
Afghanistan.
I do remember reading that, and maybe this is false because I got it from Reddit. Reddit's not a trustworthy source, but still, I read that 65% of Palestinians support Hamas. But I do not think that that means that 65% of Palestinians want all Jews to be killed, even if Hamas says that they want all Jews to be killed, because it doesn't matter that you support a person, for example, who wants something, if you know that the something that they want is impossible. Um, because it's impossible for Hamas to kill all the Jews. Like, it's literally fucking impossible. Um,
Yes, yes, it is.
and so supporting Hamas doesn't mean that you want all Jews to be killed, because you can have the nuanced understanding that like it doesn't matter what they want. What matters is what is it that they can accomplish. And I think the Palestinians that support Hamas, maybe not all of them, like I'm sure that there are Palestinians who want all the Jews to be killed, but you know, of those 65% of Palestinians who support Hamas, I believe that a large proportion would uh, be very content if they were able to like secure their land and maybe regain some of the territory that they lost, and they were just able to have their material needs met in the time that they're living right now. So yeah, I think
But
that's part of the problem.
but do we both agree? But do we both agree though that if a Palestinian supports Hamas, they are in fact a retard?
No, actually, I don't.
Really?
Because
Okay.
yes, because okay, so I guess this might be a good segue to another thing that he said, which is
Mm.
here's. Give me a second. I need to see if I actually wrote this down. Uh, I didn't. So the reason that I think that uh, you're not a retard if you're a Palestinian and you support Hamas is if you're a Palestinian, you are essentially fucked, right? Because you tie your identity to this place that you have a legitimate claim on, but you don't have the power to secure. And so you essentially have to choose between either giving up your freedoms and your rights to be able to live a life which is uh, mildly, uh, decent. Like you can live your day to day, but it's something that like it essentially denies your own identity, right? Because you believe something, and by letting Israel take it, you're essentially saying, yes, they get to have this, and so you're choosing between this or sacrificing your life for what you believe is right. Uh,
But
and I
let's
can't just say, well, people who do sacrifice their lives are retarded, right? Because personally, I do think that it's possible that there are things that are worth more than lives, especially if a person is willing to sacrifice their own life for it, right? Um, and so if a Palestinian
Not all the
says that
time.
if a Palestinian says that they support Hamas, I don't think they're retarded for that, because I think that that's essentially them like recognizing that they are in a impossible situation and hoping that there is a solution to this, uh, even if it's like bloody. So yeah, that's why I
Okay,
don't think it's
so
retarded.
okay, so this is what I where I'll go with this. I mean, imagine this, right? A North Korean living, in North Korea, obviously, and he says fucking Kim Jong Un. He's like the fucking best thing ever. I fucking love this man. And let's say he actually believes that, right? Would you
Okay.
then also say this man is not retarded?
I don't think that he would be retarded just because he is very into Kim Jong Un, you know?
But he like supports all the state's atrocities too.
I mean, it would be difficult for me to agree with him, yes. But I think it's a completely different situation because North Korea actually has power over its own territory and Palestinians don't.
Okay, but let me, because here's the thing: if you want me to say that a person that lives in a certain area and gets fed a certain type of information will have a certain type of look at the world that differs from mine, fair, I agree with that. But the problem I have with Palestine is that at a certain point, I stop losing, how to say, empathy for someone being a retard. What I mean with that is a North Korean, I have more sympathy or empathy. I don't know how to use these words, but I can feel more for them for the simple fact that they don't have internet. They can't Google, hey, Kim Jong Un, who's this? Who this? They can't do that. Like they can't. They're forced fed propaganda. So for North Korean, I have more sympathy for because they can't. Whereas a Palestinian living in Palestine can. Not now because they cut all their internet, right? But before that, they did have opportunity to look up, hey, Palestine, what the, like, what's up? Hamas, what do they do? Like, what is this? And if you still support Hamas after all of that, it just tells me, okay, either you're a fucking retard who doesn't understand that Gaza will be gone if Hamas does this act that they did, right? This massacre. If they did this massacre, we're done. We're fucked. Gaza, it's gone. That's it. We're gonna be annexed by Israel.
So I feel like that's
Two,
another
or
part of
no,
blaming
this
the
is very important. It's very
victims.
important. It's very important. Very, 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 very important. Second part is that you would be evil because it is also a fact that some of the people supporting Hamas, they believe it's like a godly mission, a mission given by God, right? So they will
Yes.
keep fighting until they die. So even when Gaza is annexed or completely destroyed by Israel, they will still be like, yeah, that was worth it. That was totally worth it because we fought against the evil people.
Okay,
Anyway,
so
go on.
yes, so this also ties with another thing he said, which is uh, Hamas wants to kill Jews, so it's going to get crushed. It's not good, but it is obviously expected, which is something that you echoed with your first point
Yes.
there. I disagree
Yeah, yeah.
completely. I don't think that you can blame Palestinians for getting destroyed. Like, just because you knew that this Israel was going to retaliate doesn't mean that you deserve the retaliation. Like that's not how it works. Uh,
Dude,
like
just let them nuke you, bro. Just let them nuke you, bro.
like
Go on.
no, that's not my point. My point is they're actually killing civilians again. Like they killed like 9 fucking UN staff in Palestine with their bombings. So
Israel,
yes,
you're talking
they
about now.
huh what
Are you talking about Israel or Palestine now, or
Israel
Hamas? I guess
bombing
would be more
Gaza.
logical. Okay, go on. And
Yes,
they killed 9 UN officials, or 9 UN
yes,
soldiers, or officials, or something like this.
yes. Staff. That's the word I was using in the article that I
Staff.
read.
Okay.
Yes. So
Nine
obviously
UN
they're
staff.
bombing
Yeah, go on.
Gaza indiscriminately. They don't care if they're hitting
Yes.
Hamas or Palestinians. To them, it's all the same. And so,
That's. I don't agree with that, but go on. Go on. Go on.
how do
I
you
will
kill UN staff if
explain
you
later.
care whether you're hitting civilians or not?
Because Israel, before they do their bombs, they give ample warning and say, "Hey, we're gonna bomb this building," or "Hey, we're gonna bomb this area.
And the
Get
UN
out."
staff just wanted to get bombed, I guess.
They're being retards, yes.
Yeah,
It
that
would not
doesn't
surprise
fly,
me at this
dude.
point.
That doesn't fly. That doesn't fly with me.
No,
Obviously,
no.
that's not
I
the
mean,
case.
listen. How do we know that? Like, it just says that 9 UN staff were killed by
Yes.
Israeli bombs.
Yes.
Okay, where did this take place in? Like, obviously in Gaza, of course, duh.
Do
But
you want
like,
me to look it
other
up
than
right
that,
now? Okay. UN staff
yeah,
field
because let me be clear. It
bombings.
might be that Israel, like
So it's
bombed an
11
area they
now.
didn't want.
Uh, okay.
So why were they there? Because here's the thing, the reason I'm questioning this is that I know a lot of retards that would be like, no, we have to save, or I also know the Palestinians, or sorry, Hamas usually hide behind civilians
So
when
yes,
they know they're
I
going to be
mean,
attacked.
yes, you can say that, but that doesn't mean that you get to shoot the civilians.
What else are they supposed to do?
You're supposed to shoot the bad guys. Is that too hard?
But how?
Go
But
in,
how? If the
go
bad
in,
guys,
invade, go in, bring your soldiers in.
but they can't do that right now. They have to. You do know about urban warfare. They can't just go in with troops. They have to bomb so they can't get killed by snipers. Then they go in with ground troops.
Uh, yes, you have to risk your soldiers if you want to be able to kill only the bad guys, or you can bomb civilians and then you don't have to risk your soldiers. So, what should we worry more about, the lives of civilians or our soldiers?
Okay, let's say they don't go in. They don't bomb. It's fair if Israel just loses their whole army because some civilians die, or not some. That's a little rude. A lot. Let's say a lot of civilians
I
die.
feel like if you think that it's possible for Israel to lose its whole army, you do not understand the difference in power between Hamas and Israel. Like
Hang on.
the
The
proportion.
power imbalance. Yeah, but they have. Here's the thing: the bulk of Israel's power. And I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but from what I've heard and what I've read, and again, might be wrong. Not saying I'm completely fucking right, fucking emperor Baldur's Gate style. Okay, not saying that. Is that the bulk of their power is one, Iron Dome, two, their missiles, obviously, and three, their air force. Like the air force seem to be their golden boy. Like this is the like the big thing Israel have. The ground troops is just 300,000 or something. And I
Hmm.
think it was more. No, sorry, it's more now because of the reserves. So it's like
Yes,
whatever. Fuck it.
it's
Let's say
bigger than the
400,000.
U.S.
Let's say 400,000.
Army currently, is what I read with the reserves.
So
And
they
you're comparing
obviously will
that with
need.
Hamas, which is
Yes.
apparently a terrorist organization. Do you think that they have 300,000 soldiers?
Hang on now. Afghanistan, they won a war against the Soviet Union with like what 2% of their army. So it is, it's more complicated than what you're saying right now. But I'm pretty
Yes.
sure you know that too.
Yes. I feel like if you actually look at the death ratios of each conflict between Gaza and Israel across the years, you see how the people from Gaza die at like 100 to 1 Israelis.
Mm. So
So,
why do they keep attacking Israel? I don't understand. If
no,
they know they're gonna get fucking spanked, why do they
because they're
keep
willing
attacking
to risk
Israel?
their lives for what they think is right. I
But
think
this
we've
is here's the
settled
thing.
that.
We can okay, but here's the thing. Settled or settled. I
So
mean,
we're moving
I
too
don't
fast. I
really.
have to go back for a second here. So you asked for a place.
Mm.
So this article says that 11 UN staff and 30 pupils at UN schools were killed in Gaza, and they don't mention location in the article, but they do have a photo of a body being carried, which presumably
Okay.
belongs to a person from the UN, and it's in Kibbutz Kfar Asa. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. So yes, now you have a name, which is what you wanted, I guess.
Okay, no, what I meant more, where I do, thank you, by the way, but what I meant more is where was this a place? Because Hamas, if I'm not mistaken, they hide their headquarters in civilian places. For example, one of their biggest headquarters was once at the Palestinian, or like the Gaza, the main hospital in Gaza was like their headquarters. So they know that Israel can't bomb them
I feel
because
like
then
this is like,
civilians.
look, I understand why it is that people say that, you know, uh, you're using civilians as a shield. Like the same was said by Russia against Ukraine's military. They're hiding people inside the buildings which have civilians, and so uh, we get to bomb them now.
And that's a war crime. Okay, that's a
Yes,
war crime, but I guess you both agree with that. Anyone,
yes,
go on.
like both are war crimes. You know, yeah, it's always fun when both are committing war crimes. Um,
Do you know what, Neil? I have a very fucking controversial opinion right now.
war
War is
crimes are
bad.
bad. Oh, I thought that we
The
were
war
gonna say
crime
war
is very
crimes
bad.
is
Dude,
even better. You
it's
know.
such a yeah, dude. I have the most controversial opinions here on this stream. Like war is bad, man. We should not do war. War is bad.
I feel like
Anyway, continue.
we should probably at least like there is something to imbalance of power, right? Like how are you supposed to resist an overwhelming power you have no chance against if you're not willing to not play by the same rules as the people who are oppressing you? And this is a more a question, like a rather than justification for
Hmm.
what you're doing.
Can you repeat?
How are you
Can
supposed
you
to
repeat it?
resist? Yes. How are you supposed to resist an overwhelming power that's oppressing you without not playing by the same rules that they are playing?
Okay, so in this case, the Palestine would be the one that's against this other more powerful group in this case. I must presume that
Yes. I mean, if you can't figure that out, like, what's wrong with you?
everything. Here's the thing. Um, the thing is like what I don't understand though with these arguments that you're giving me, and
It's a question. It's
can't
not an
think of
argument.
any.
I'm waiting for an answer still.
No, because what's right is doing what's moral, of course. But here's the problem: is that we both. I mean, surely Palestine can do anything else but to support Hamas. I mean, are they like forced to support Hamas? Aren't there other things they can do? Because they elected Hamas to run them as a government. And then, I mean, at some point, it's like, come on, man. Like, they can do other things than that. That's why also it's important context, you know how I'm feeling about that point. So you understand why I have this stance that Israel will come in and, go in and do the thing in Gaza. And I don't really, it's sad, it's very tragic, but I understand that they have to do it.
Why do they
It's
have to
for the
kill
simple fact that
civilians?
they don't have to kill civilians. Okay, first of
They
all,
are
but
killing a lot
I'm
of
pretty sure
civilians
you're
for
also
someone
gonna.
who doesn't have to.
But here's the thing: we both have an impression that they're not going in there like, oh look, there's a civilian, let's murder him. Like
I
they're
don't
not
know
doing
actually.
that, right?
Like I've seen plenty of
Oh,
videos
but
of
come
Israeli
on.
soldiers being very happy about, like, let's just say that bullying is not where they end when they meet
But hang on,
Palestinians.
I can say, dude, I can say like I saw a lot of Palestinians being really happy about raping and murdering innocents. Like I can say the
Yes,
same thing.
yes.
And then they're not people anymore, then they're animals.
No, that's not what
They're
I'm getting at.
barbarians.
I'm saying that you can't say that, oh, it's of course the case that Israelis are not trying to murder civilians. They're doing it by mistake, when we know that some are actually doing it because they want to.
No, but do you have any proof of that right now? Like right now,
I would
if
have
you
to
go back,
Google
you
videos
know,
of Israeli soldiers murdering Palestinians if you want. I don't want to look at them
yeah, but
anymore,
what?
but I know they exist.
Yeah, but why? do we know the context of why? Because let me be clear here. If they go into some sort of suburb to Gaza, and then they start shooting like some old woman carrying groceries and going ha ha ha, then yes, that's bad. And this person was obviously just out for, in his mind, revenge, which is wrong in this case, right? Then I would agree with you. Yes, this soldier did this, but a majority of them doesn't click with me. I have seen no evidence. And then again, we come back to an argument I don't want to take back, but just as an example, we were arguing about something. You said, if you show me like 10 pieces of evidence that this is happening, then sure, I will consider moving my stance. So similarly here, if you can show me many instances where, Israeli forces going in and murdering civilians carte blanche, without there being any, terrorists there, Hamas there, or anything,
You're
then
asking
sure I
like
might start thinking this
for
way.
a lot. Like you're not gonna get much
Yeah,
footage of
sure.
people killing each other, specifically on the circumstances that you're asking for. Like
Yeah,
that's gonna take a long
but how
time to
can you
come
then?
out. Let's put it that way.
But how can you then make the claim that you don't know if they're doing it?
Because there's over
Because
two
wouldn't you need the same
1,200
amount of
people who
evidence
were
to?
killed, most of which were civilians.
Because Hamas uses civilians as shields, and they always have done that.
And
That's why there's so many civilians in
who's
Gaza
shooting
dying.
the civilians? Is it Hamas or Israel?
At that point, I mean, okay, if I take, let's say you, I don't know how you would do this, but I know you've been going to the gym, right? So let's say you take hold of me and you hold me in front of a train, and then the train comes and kills me. Who killed me? You or the?
Is Israel a one-track thing which just has to demolish whatever it's in front of? Like, do they not have a choice?
No, right
Of
now they
course
don't
they
have a
have a
choice. They need to
choice.
annex Gaza.
Of course they have a
You,
choice.
really, one choice is being fucking murdered by Hamas, or the other one is invading and annexing the Gaza Strip and kicking Hamas out.
Yes. Like, yes,
Honestly,
what do
the
you want me to
more
say? Like, it's not okay to kill civilians just because you don't want to lose more soldiers.
okay, so your problem is the approach Israel is doing. So let's for a minute say this, that Israeli, they had like magic bullets, like these fucking bullets in that fucking movie with Angelina
Wanted.
Jolie from 2010 or whatever.
It's wanted,
Like when
isn't
they
it?
bend the bullets, I think. Yes, wanted. Let's say they had this power, right? And they could just like bend the bullets around the civilians and kill all Hamas soldiers. Then you would be fine with it. And then you would be fine with them doing what they're doing.
You mean going in and killing Hamas people? Yes, I'd be fine with that.
Only, only Hamas, like, sure. But then you're getting into this hard territory because these questions are never easy. I mean, because we both
Look,
understand, like,
the US
but I
does
think
it,
you
right?
already said.
The US goes to Iraq and they basically get shat on if they ever kill a civilian, and the death ratio of civilians is like far, far lower than anything that's happening right now in Gaza. Like in Gaza, they're killing more civilians than they are killing
Yeah,
uh, people
but
from
Iraq War
Hamas.
was completely. Yeah, but
What?
the reasons for the Iraq War was different than the reasons for Israel going into Palestine,
Yes, but
or
I'm
sorry,
talking
to
about
the
the
Gaza Strip.
approach of the American army when fighting this war and the approach of the Israeli army when fighting this war.
Okay, so you mean, okay, I don't understand. Are you saying that the American approach was better or worse?
Better, of course, because they're not killing as many civilians.
Okay, there. So they're going in with ground troops. Okay. Now, what are the numbers for the American army versus the Israel army?
So, how many civilians are killed in the Iraq?
No, no, so sorry. So sorry, I meant infantrymen, like army infantrymen, like bodies, so to say, that they can throw at the problem.
Stats. So, casualties of the Iraq War on Wikipedia. There are many surveys, body counts, Iraqi war logs. Today, civilians, Iraqi civilian casualties. Uh, Okay. And then
But Neil, you heard the question I posed, right? I was asking about the infantrymen, like how many infantrymen they have, like or personnel within the army itself, not how many people they killed. Because my
so
point is, I'm
you're
just going to
asking
leave
how
it.
many U.S. soldiers there are as well.
Yes, yes, that was the question I asked. I think you
I mean, we
misunderstood what I
already
was
settled
asking
that
for. My point
Israel has more soldiers than U.S. currently, right?
is, what? No, they have far fewer.
No, if the reservees, the number went higher. I'm pretty sure I've read it.
No, no, the U.S. army is like 1 million, and and Israel's army is like 300,000 or something. Where is
Oh,
it? Now I'm not sure. I just know it's very small. It's not
okay.
big, or like
I can't find it. Like there are like 100 different sources and way too many numbers, so I won't be able to compare.
and people more smarter than you and me talking about it who are also giving different sources. No, here's the thing. This is what I would say, right? I don't like the fact that it came to this. I think that the problem that people have made is to not force Palestine to change their government or say, hey, or give it, or maybe they have, because at the end of the day, you have to accept, like, if people want Hamas as a ruling body, like, okay, that's your choice. But then it's like, us voting in a fucking actual fascist, which I mean, Hamas is fascist, a fascist organization, but we probably agree on that anyway. And
Probably
at
yes.
some point, it's like, yeah, you voted for this. And now they did the thing they said they were going to do. And now Israel comes in and spanks you. And at
They're
some
doing way
certain
more
point,
than
it's like,
spanking.
I need. Yeah, sure. But I mean, of course, this is going to happen. Like, what did you think was going to happen? I'm not saying you, of course. I'm talking to them.
Uh, they probably thought that they would be able to leverage whatever they conquered to uh, increase the total. Because you know what they're doing right now, right? They're asking for donations from the UN, Palestinians. And
Oh my fucking god! What a bunch of
yes,
retards. No, not retard. I said.
I'm pretty sure that that's essentially their goal, right? They're
Yes.
building more resentment towards Israel, for one, because Israel is doing all it can to build as much resentment against itself, uh, as evidenced
No,
by the.
no. No, I don't agree. I mean, if you look, who do you have more sympathy for? The Israelis or the Palestinians?
The
But I mean, if you feel the
Palestinians.
Palestinians, okay, I don't. I have no sympathy. Or
I
I
do.
do have some sympathy, don't get me wrong, but I have sympathy for like someone being tricked, sort of like, one of these people being tricked by a scammer, like an Indian scammer calling them, like, sure, I have some sympathy for you. Like, you're old, you don't really know how, all these things work, and now you get scammed. That's really sad. Like, but that's the end of it. I
So
mean, at some point, like, what do you want me to say? I have no sympathy for retards. It's very hard for me.
I feel
But like,
like
I have some sympathy, sure.
we were probably going to end this soon because you have to go, if I have to guess, because
Yes,
you usually have. So I just wanted to
yes.
go to my last thing that I noted, which is like a
Hmm.
no true Scotsman fallacy that he said, which is if you're on the left,
Can you
you
explain
condemn
that
this.
fallacy?
Yes, if basically whenever someone says, oh, this person who was, a leftist did something bad. Oh, that means they're not a real leftist. So what you're doing is
Ah, okay.
you're
Yeah, yeah,
reclassifying the definition so that
yeah.
only the people
Okay, it
you
means
want
something.
to
Yes,
be
yes,
defined.
yes.
Okay, so he said, if you're on the left,
Let
you
me.
condemn this, or you aren't a genuine leftist. So what he's doing is
Did
basically
you say,
saying, what?
did you say progressive or leftist? Did you say progressive or leftist? Because he said
Leftist.
leftist. I agree with you.
Leftist.
He
He
said
said
leftist. Okay,
leftist.
then I agree. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I
That's not a good
mean,
point.
that
I
has
agree.
nothing to do with the left or the right. Like condemning or like being pro-Israel or being pro-Palestine slash Hamas has nothing to do with right or left.
No, no, I agree with you. I mean, if he said progressive, I would agree. But the fact is that leftist, I agree.
Yeah.
Because progressivism, I mean, in its core, but I'm pretty sure maybe you don't agree with this, but progressivism, if you just look at progressivism, we don't put any moral qualms about it. We just look at progressivism as it means. It's about furthering, so a part of it, right, is to further the voice of the unheard and get them to equal opportunity. At least that's how it's sold. Then the problem is that people want equal outcomes that Pearson talks about, but it was sold. If you look at it, how it's usually talked about and sold, it's about bringing this, what is called this, what is it called, like this, not this proper, the people who are disadvantaged, yes, disadvantaged groups of people, to give them the ability to have the same chance as people who are not disadvantaged. That's how it's sold. I agree. It means something. This has been co-opted and means something else now. Sure.
I mean, there's no
But
reason
and
for
in
us to
that
go into
sense,
it, but I do think that progressivism is like bullshit completely because it implies that there is like an end goal to history and that we know the future, both of which are false. And so it's always like oh, what I want is progress and what you want is regress. And it's always like that. So there is no accurate definition that you can give of progressivism. So it's not a real category. It's just a bullshit word.
yeah, and actually, let's end here on a happy note because surprisingly, I 75% agree with you actually on this point. I do actually.
Nice,
I
nice.
was, yeah, no, because I would, the other 25% is like, as I said, how it's sold, but that's sort of a point I made earlier, like how it's sold. And how it's sold, it sounds awesome, it sounds fine, but then when you look into it, you sort of get where you're going with it, right?
Yeah.
So, because, but then actually, can I ask you a question and you just say yes or no? Or
Yeah.
no answer. If you feel like you need more time, then you just say no answer.
Mm.
But would you say that oh man, I lost the question. No, I have it. I have it. If progressivism, how it sounds, like what I said, that people with people who are disadvantaged or have been disadvantaged, getting you put action in, usually by governments, to put them at not same outcome but same chances as people who are not disadvantaged.
So
At
if
that
I'm for
core,
it or against it?
no, yes or no, that's all I wanted to ask you. Okay, would you say that at that point, like, do you understand why people can get tricked by it? Yes, no, or no answer if you feel like you would need time to think about your answer.
So being tricked by what? Being tricked by that proposal?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, I understand.
Yeah, cool. Now, as I said, of this Palestine, like Israel thing, it's like, here's the thing: neither of us have any stakes in it, but it's always interesting to see how people. I mean, to be fair, like if we compare the conversation we had that got a little heated, if you compare that to fucking a CNN panel, it was nothing, right? Because those fuckers are insane, okay? Like actually fucking insane.
I mean, it's very flattering to compare us to a CNN panel, but you
I
know what
know
the title is to the stream right now?
what.
If you Gaza into the abyss also Gazas into you.
Okay, that's fun.
Yes. So,
But yeah,
I
yeah,
before you go, can I just say something real quick?
okay.
Like Israel has some massive like money on controlling the narrative right now, for sure. Like it's crazy. Uh, because I'm
Sure,
not sure if
so
you.
does Hamas too. But
Yes, but
continue.
you can't compare, dude. Like they put their soldiers on the fucking internet. Hamas is a fucking like bunch of cave dwellers essentially. You can't compare it. Uh, anyway, so you know that report about like 40 babies being decapitated in a nursery?
Yeah, I heard that. some people said it's fake, some people say it's real. I'm
Yeah,
at this point, I'm gonna let you know, I'm waiting until the fucking biggest fucking fact checker checks that for me before I say anything about it.
yeah. I'm just gonna give some
I can't go on
developments
at
in
the
the
moment.
story. So first, the only source for that is a single IDF soldier. Second, Biden came into public today and said, "Oh, it's so sad to hear about these babies which are decapitated, and see the photos and hear the confirmation, right?" And then an hour ago, a White House official just said that Biden has never seen any photos or heard any confirmation of the story. And so it's like, okay, what happened there? And the only thing I can think of is Biden is reading a fucking teleprompter, which is written by, you know, I hate to use this word, but it's the appropriate term, the deep state, you know, uh, people who are actually in control of the fucking government, and because
The
they're,
aliens, yes.
I mean, maybe, uh,
The
heavily
aliens that were unearthed in Peru.
heavily
Those
influenced by the
aliens,
fact
those
that
fossil aliens.
Israel is, an ally of the U.S. He's just saying whatever they want him
Hmm.
to say, and so I just thought that was, pretty fucking interesting.
Here's the thing: there's two claims that have been either debunked or not debunked. Because the thing is that some of these fact people who are reporting the baby stories are very reputable sources.
They're
Not
not
in, we can
reporting
get
though.
into what I mean.
They're just
No,
they're
but here's the
just
thing. Some of, no,
spreading the
but
same
come on.
information that the one soldier gave.
From
They're not
what I've
direct
seen,
sources.
from what I've seen, they have said that this happened. Then I have seen other people saying it didn't happen. I also know of a case where they said that that woman who got raped and then paraded around the Gaza Strip, that was fake, they said. But then someone came out and said, hey, what you're using to claim that this is fake in itself. And then it would surprise me if Stable Diffusion AI image generator gets involved too. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm holding my tongue. It could be that it's false, the 40 babies. It could possibly be.
I mean,
But
the
as I said,
only articles that
I'm
I've
waiting
read
on
about it
him.
are saying that reportedly this happened, and the
Mm.
source is a single guy, and so yeah,
Maybe it
I
was
don't trust
revealed to
it.
them in a dream, and then you can't argue with them. Then they're right. You know that, right? If it was
Yes.
revealed to them in a dream, it's true and based in red pill. Okay, not based in red pill. Now, fuck. Okay, that was the wrong time to fucking say that.
All right. There's a
But anyway,
thing we didn't touch on, and so I'll just talk about it, and then we discuss it next week. Like, what do you think about the left imploding over this? Like, because they're very pro-Palestine.
fuck them. I hate America. I generally hate American leftists. Generally, online at least, I generally hate them. The people on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, not
Mm-hmm.
the average American leftist like that you meet on the street. They're pretty based. I have friends that are leftists and American and white too, so I have no problem with them. But online, they're pretty trash. So it's good to see that they crash and burn.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm liking the show
Mm.
though.
Anyway,
You know.
take care. Yeah, yeah, take care, man. I need to go. But it's
Yeah.
nice talking to you.
Same. See you later.
See you.